Hello! In the previous lesson, you understood in theory what the WordPress loop is and what it's for. Let's create our first loop. So let's go back to the code then, and let's build our loop. Initially, the goal will be to make some content appear on the screen when we click on some menu item. We'll be creating our loop right here where we have the word news. So let's make room here and start creating our loop. The loop will be inside PHP tags, so let's start by saying the following. If there's anything, do something. So if have posts, we want WordPress to do something. If have posts, while there are posts, do something else. While have posts, that will be calling the posts to me. The post. Let's just comment out this here to make it easier to understand what's going on. So if there are any posts published, while there are posts, WordPress will bring up the posts regardless of how many posts are found in the database. Later on, we'll see that we can even control the amount of posts returned by the database. And those posts will be called here, in the space here, just below, according to a format that I, as the theme creator, will determine. That format will be defined in a little while. But if there are no posts, we have to predict that too. Let's finish the while command, which we started up here. And just below, we use the else command to determine what will happen if no posts are found. Let's make a break in the PHP flow here to write HTML. Let's open up a paragraph and say, nothing to display, or something like that. And to top it off, let's close out the if command we started up there with an and if. Let's fix this code. So let's recap. I want to make that very clear to you. We started the dynamic area asking WordPress to check the database for posts. For now, let's not worry about the type of posts that will be returned. If there are any posts, then we'll start our loop. Actually, the loop itself goes from this while command here to this and while. While posts are found in the database, we request WordPress to show each found post one at a time. So let's suppose 2 posts are found. The data from this first post will be loaded and shown on the screen according to a specific format, which we haven't defined yet, okay? The code will reach the end while and verify that there is still a post to be displayed. It will come back up here, going back to the beginning of the loop, and load the data from the second post. When there are no more posts, the loop is over and the code goes on. In this case, it will go to the footer and the story follows. I know it seems complex at first, but you get used to it. But if there are no posts to show, the loop won't even be executed. The code jumps straight to the else command and shows this little message here. Well, but our code, the way it is, still doesn't show any content on the screen. We still need to define how we want the post to be presented. We'll have to make a new HTML markup in here and then show the content for each HTML element dynamically, using some WordPress functions for that. So there are functions to call the post title, the author, the tags, the publication date, and several other post information. These functions are called template tags by WordPress. There are a lot of them, so I'll leave a link for you to check all of them out in the lesson's extra material. For this lesson, we are just gonna use 2 of them. Later, we will add others depending on the page or section we are creating. So let's start by breaking the PHP once again to write HTML in here. We want to create an article tag. Inside this article, we'll start with an h2 tag. This tag can also be another one later, depending on the page created. Just below a div. Okay, the first content we're going to call here is the post title. To do this dynamically, we need to use a WordPress function called the title. So let's type in here inside the PHP tags, the underscore title. And finally, inside this div, we'll show the post content, which is everything we put in the WordPress post editing area or inside the Gutenberg block area if you're using Gutenberg. For this, let's use a function called the content. Now, with the formats already defined, we can see if our first loop will really work. So fingers crossed, and let's refresh our homepage. There it is, our loop is working. You realize that the loop was executed 4 times, bringing the 3 posts that we created, plus this post here, hello world, that already exists in WordPress. All of this has been fetched from the database, and each one of them with the format we defined. Let's inspect one of them. Look at that. We have the article tag and inside it the content of each post, with title and content. But you can add more elements using other template tags. So just take a look at the list of template tags and play a little with the content. Those template tags are very interesting ways to query the WordPress database without needing any knowledge of MySQL. Since WordPress is almost all post-based, there are a lot of things you can do. And it doesn't stop there because we'll see ways to boost it later in the course. Well, but we still have 2 big problems to solve here. The first one of them you'll notice when we click on the links for each page of the site. For example, I'm gonna click here on About. The good news is that there's finally something coming up here on the screen. This was brought by the loop. You can see that this loop is bringing us the post title, which in this case is this title of the page, since pages are also considered to be post types by WordPress, and we also have the page content. The same thing happens if we click on blog or on contact. But that's not what we want. We want the content of these inner pages to be different. Why do you have all this content showing up here on the contact page? This should only stay on the home page, don't you agree? So let's leave this problem to the next lessons. Let's move on to the second problem. Let's try to solve it now. Notice that the home page gives us a list of posts. This list should appear on the blog page. However, the blog page currently shows only the content that we included in that page. In other words, the role of these 2 pages is inverted. To solve this, we go to the dashboard, Settings menu, Reading. Now here where it says Your home page displays, let's define that the home page will display a static page. That page is the home page, and the post page will be the blog page. Let's save it here. And now when we enter the home page, we see the content of the home page. And when we click on blog, we have the listing of all the posts. Now it makes more sense. Awesome! That was all for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned how this essential part of WordPress works. But it doesn't end here. There is more in the next lesson. So until then, happy coding!